sorry for the delay, but thank you all for joining us for our session here about live streaming. Basically, it's a primer about how it works, why you should do it, and what options are available to you. And I'm going to ask my other panel mates, beginning with Randy, to quickly introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Randy Visser. I sales rep for Cablecast Community Media, and I chair of my local access community access board in Gray, Maine.
Okay, and Daniel Folkman, if you would introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Dan Folkman. I'm from Milwaukee, and given the previous conversation, I think I pigeonhole myself in the nonprofit grassroots side of this operation, and I'm excited about the potential. And I can see a growth area here with my contacts throughout the state, and there's really grassroots community-based education that's happening all over the place, and it's fabulous.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Well, I'm going to now share my little screen. Oh, did I forget Jake, or did I? No, you're not. Okay.
No, I'm the bottom of the totem pole on this, and we have some lovely people here to speak. I've talked enough. People don't
okay. All right.
Yeah, just go ahead.
All right. Well, hey, let's talk about live streaming. I mean, basically, we all know what it is. However, there are sort of two elements to it. Live streaming, of course, refers to online streaming media simultaneously recorded and broadcast in real time, according to Wikipedia, or as I said in the last session, Webster's defines live streaming as this. We wanted, why should you do it? Well, fragmented audiences mean less people are watching video on traditional outlets like cable, satellite, or broadcast, and more people are watching it through the internet on computers, tablets, and mobile devices. So since the audience is fragmented, we kind of have to have our distribution to sort of fragment it with it in order to bring in eyeballs to our stuff. Now, I'm going to turn it over to Randy for a second. He's going to talk about some of the different ways. So, Randy?
Okay, if you could give me the share, I'll...
You got it.
Thank you. Let's see here. Can everybody see that screen okay? I'm going to take this from an article blog that was posted on this website by Max Wilbert, and I thought it would be useful to just very quickly talk about a couple of base technical issues that we need to sort of establish when we talk about streaming. The first is to understand that there are new streaming protocols that we're using, which are essentially delivery methods for breaking the video you have on your systems up into packets or chunks that can then be reassembled in a cloud or over the network or through an encoder, a piece of hardware, and delivered back to whoever's going to watch it. Keep in mind, folks, that there are some other things happening with the video. For example, there are codecs that are involved in this process, compressor decompressors that are taking your video, crunching it into a digital file, and that digital file can take different formats, .mov, .avi, MPEG, so on and so forth. Those are the container formats for the video. I just wanted to quickly then talk about the basic protocols that we are now using in the marketplace. And we can start with RTMP. Those of you who are using Zoom meetings and pushing those now to your systems probably understand that you're using this protocol. It's real-time messaging protocol. it does require a receiver. And that means that you have to have a unique piece of software either on your server, your playout server, or as Cablecast did, we put ours in the cloud. And this allows people to take RTMP streams, such as Zoom meetings, push those over to the cloud, and then in our situation, the cloud pushes them back to wherever that you want them to land. YouTube Live, Facebook Live, that kind of thing. The other, one of the other protocols that are being used in streaming is called RTSP, Real-Time Streaming Protocol. And again, as with all of this, as you get into the weeds on this, there are pros and cons with each of these protocols. We won't get into that, but you know, essentially you do have issues with security, and this is one of the protocols that deals with some of the security issues, and it's designed as a low latency streaming. It's a good choice for IP cameras, that type of thing. A new protocol that we're all going to be hearing about soon is coming into the marketplace. It's called MPEG-Dash. And I don't know all that much about it, but it is an adaptive bit rate streaming. That term means that when you're pushing your stream out to the network and people are picking that up on devices, the stream will adapt to the bandwidth that the device is using. So if you're sitting in your car trying to watch a stream meeting from a local access channel over a website, it will adapt to the fact that you may only have 2 bars, and it might actually drop the quality of the stream, but it continues playing the stream. That's adapting to your bandwidth capabilities is essentially what that deals with. Microsoft has their own MSS streaming protocol, not being used too much in the marketplace. HTTP dynamic streaming is something that has been used in the marketplace a lot. It's Adobe's entry into it. It's basically been taken over in much part by some of the newer protocols that are coming out. This is an important one, HLS. HLS is Apple's protocol for streaming media. It's the particular protocol that we utilize in the Cablecast system. A lot of other systems use this as well. Again, there are some real advantages to HLS. A lot of that has to do with, well, as this person's describing, it's one of the mostly widely used protocols. It does have adaptive bit rate. And part of, I'm going to finish by just saying part of the struggle or the challenge we're all up against is, you know, if we choose a particular protocol to deliver our content, how does that impact the users? If I choose to use the Cablecast Reflex service in my town, does that limit who can watch it or what they can watch it on? So these are some of the base technical issues that you need to think about as you're moving towards looking at a streaming plan. And I'm going to leave it at that. Ross, back to you.
Okay. All right. If you give me the screen share back, I will.
Can I just
Sure.
from an organizational standpoint, can all the speakers stay until noon? So we have the full 40-minute seminar. Sure. And then Nick, would you be able to start Latronics and kind of be our lunch?
Sure.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Obviously, there are a lot of choices as far as streaming your, getting your signal out to different streams. I've got a little list here of the most popular ones. And all of them are, you know, depending on how you want to distribute your stream, any of these would be a pretty decent choice. Now, let me put out that in these days, a lot of vendors are providing with their playback systems, um, streaming to your website, streaming to an on-demand site, streaming to an over-the-top box. A lot of them, and that of course is the easiest way to do this. When I started doing this, this wasn't happening. And so I had to come up with a way to live stream that wasn't going to, where I didn't have to replace my entire playback system and spend anywhere from $30,000 to $60,000 to have capability built in. I had to kind of do it on my own, and so I first started with a box similar to what I have here, which is the Blackmagic Web Presenter. Actually, the box I used was a video system. Excuse me. And at first, my vendor was providing, and still does provide, streaming to directly to my website and to an on-demand site. But to go anywhere besides that, I had to set up my own solution. And so I had to have a box like the Blackmagic that was just on, or the Data Video Streamer, or the Matrox encoder, which allowed me to put the HDSDI signal that I was putting out of my router out so that people could watch our live stream. Whether, you know, I have sort of two strategies. I have consistent live streaming where my channel, I just stream everything. I just stream the output of my channel directly out all the time, 24/7. And then specific live streams, for example, the village board meetings that we do and the park board meetings that we do, we specifically stream those to Facebook and YouTube, but only when those meetings are happening. So, you know, we kind of have a two-pronged strategy when it comes to doing that. I know there are also people who use video cameras like this JVC camera, which has streaming capability. So that allows them to, when they're out in the field, they can stream stuff either back directly to their playback or directly to Facebook or Periscope or whatever system they happen to be using. So I had this, you know, setup where I was doing that, and then, oh, by the way, buy as much, if you're doing it this way, buy as much encoder as you can. You could spend $200, you could spend $2,000. But, you know, the best signal, obviously, that you can send out is extremely important. And also the pipe that you're sending it through, having as much bandwidth as possible is also something you should be very concerned about. For example, right now, we stream, again, we stream to our website and to an on-demand live stream website. That is for our 24-hour live stream. We also decided to go with Boxcast. I'm sure you've heard about them in the last year or so. They are a service that will take your stream, you can program it and then set it up to directly go to Facebook or whatever you can go to Roku through the Boxcast app, and of course you can set things up in advance, which is very nice. with that, I am going to I'm going to turn it over to Dan Folkman, who is doing something a little different from what I'm doing as far as live streaming concerned. And so, Dan, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, everybody. As I said, I'm from Milwaukee, and I don't have a TV station. I start out with my cell phone, and I'm a community activist. And I've been doing this for several years now and learning by the seat of my pants. What I'm seeing, and I'm relating it to the conversation we're having now and one that we were having just before we came into this workshop, is that as a community activist, I see myself as a community educator. And the amount of programming that's out there that's being delivered among the vast network of community nonprofits. What I'm struck by, and I got into this after a 39-year career at UW Milwaukee Community Education. What I see going on with our nonprofits is high quality community education programs that involve discussion groups, panel presentations, candidate forums, or whatever. You can really do high quality programming that really fits into the nonprofit, nonpartisan venues out there. And I just can't tell you the high quality that's being delivered. These organizations do their homework, they do their studies, they craft their presentation. So what was I doing? I was saying, this stuff is so good. It needs to get out there. It needs to be amplified. And I just started recording. I've got my own camcorders and all that as well. But my whole point was to show up at an event, turn on my camera like Ross is saying, and stream it to my Facebook page, stream it to YouTube. And that's what I've been doing. And I'm brand new to this whole universe of community public TVs or whatever it is. You know, I've just become an independent producer, and I'm going to find out what that means. But what I'm envisioning is having a range of platforms that my broadcasts can receive and be further broadcast, so it's like amplifying the message again and again and again. And so I'm here to share a little bit with you what I've learned about doing this. Is there's an organizational capacity here that I think is phenomenal, but a bit challenging. And what I've recently started doing using Zoom is I can Zoom and simultaneously send the message to two or more platforms. And if I'm running the Zoom session, now I'm no longer in the field, but I've got partners who are out in the field with their cameras. They're joining me on the Zoom session. And now I'm producing a multi-camera product that all of a sudden is really exciting. Example, one organization that I'm working with very much is, they call them Building Unity. And what they're doing right now during the election is well, they can't do it now because of COVID, but their goal was to travel around the state. They bought a van with Building Unity on it, and their whole point is to go to local areas where public policy issues are being discussed. And what they're doing, Saturday the 24th, I believe that's the day, they've organized caravans of cars driving to Kenosha for whatever political event that is. But what you've got going on that day is caravans leaving from Madison, from Oshkosh, Fond du Lac. So there's a number of caravans going. And I'm talking with them. I say, well, that's interesting. I can broadcast the program before they get there, because why don't I have someone in each of the caravans in their cars phone into my Zoom session, and I can have each of the people in the little squares that I'm looking at, but they're in a caravan going to Kenosha, and they're talking about what's the issue, what's involved in it, why are they doing this, what's important. It's amazing. And I'm really here to say there's a whole universe of activists out there. I have my little fingers in a number of things, and I'm just so excited. And I'm being blown away because the discussion that I'm hearing from you all is just giving me the technical, mechanical information that I'm dying. I'll stop now, and I just want to hear from you all. Randy, you got your hand up.
I just want to congratulate you, Daniel, for realizing the dream of activists, media activists who have been working on this scenario for 40 years or more. I know there are some in this group that have been struggling to get this to happen, and the tool sets are now becoming available. And you're one of the pioneers who are really pushing this. Please get in touch with your local provider. I think it's Milwaukee Access. The question in my mind for managers becomes two: the connectivity between the speakers in the community and us, our systems, and then how does that content get distributed in a contextual way that actually allows Daniel to interact and begin a conversation with people who may be watching. These are some of the new tools that are becoming available to us, and it's an exciting time. I'm just thrilled, and I too want to just open it up for discussion. But you know, congratulations, and to all of us. I mean, this is really an interesting conversation to be having in 2020. We dreamed about this back in the 80s and the 70s, I can tell you.
I just wanted to mention real quickly that I'm very excited that Dan has joined WCM as an independent producer. Our goals for independent producers are that they can upload their shows to our MediaFire platform, which is program sharing, and then any of our 52 member stations can pick it off and play it. And the sad news for you, Randy, is that Milwaukee Access has closed. They closed a couple of years ago. Yeah. So it's even more important that, you know, activists out of Milwaukee have other places to air their stuff in other access centers across the state.
I mean, the beautiful thing about this technology is Daniel could send that signal to anyone, and it sounds like you guys already have a sharing platform. That's the direction I see a lot of states going. That's where we're headed in Maine. And I think as vendors, we're also all looking at, you know, what tool sets can we provide customers that will allow them to share this content more easily. And now we're talking about live streams, folks. That's so exciting.
Right. Yeah. And we're also talking about funding and trying to find ways to do like crowdsourced funding for public access type programming, because so many of our stations in Wisconsin are very government based now. And we feel like the public access component needs a shot in the arm, and so we're trying to develop a separate 501c3 to do that kind of assistance. And I'm hoping maybe Dan will get more involved with that effort with us.
I'd love to offer the Community Media Archive as another way of taking your video that you've already produced and preserving it. And again, it's a for free forever type of thing. So I can contact you with information about how to get started with that.
Yeah. Let me just tell you one thing that I'm involved in, and it's using a Zoom Zoom session like we're having now. But I'm working on the issue of fair maps and gerrymandering. And this is public policy, helping people understand what that is and how it's done. And so I've been putting together a series of maybe 20 to 30 minute little sessions that go into gerrymandering in specific areas like Milwaukee, Green Bay, and show the maps before and after the 2012 redistricting. And literally, I've got the person who was part of the Supreme Court, he was the main plaintiff. He's describing what was done to transform the districts into what is arguably one of the most gerrymandered, non-democratic systems. But I'm able to do that live and also then post-edit it. And my post-edits give me a chance to do some more graphic kind of editing and motion graphics and the stuff that really I think are being received quite well. And so having a place where they could be archived and readily accessed. Right now, I'm leaning towards putting my videos together on YouTube with a playlist. But the point here is how to get this out. Post November, gerrymandering's big time public policy issues going on, and what a vehicle for us. Randy?
Daniel, what can you describe? You were talking about following a caravan of people who were going down the road and so on. I mean, as we start thinking as producers about the difference between packaged content and live content, there's some really interesting dynamics that happen with live that you don't get, when you're just presenting something that's been pre-produced. Have you had that experience? Can you talk to that at all or not?
Oh yeah, well, I can tell you, I was banned from YouTube for 90 days. Why? Because I'm at an event, and what the speakers are over, and there's a little bit of downtime, and they turned on the radio, and within a minute I was shut down.
Oh, copyright infringement.
Copyright infringement, and I had, at the moment I had no idea what was going on, and then I get this message. And then I had absolutely no way to connect back to YouTube. I had to just sit tight for 90 days because I didn't know how to work through.
Yeah,
that informed my way of interacting with the groups that I'm working with. In fact, Sunday, I'm working with a fundraiser for North Shore Grassroots here in Milwaukee, and they wanted music. And I had, and they were really appreciative of what I was saying. I said, but I got to be careful that whatever music comes on in the program you want me to broadcast is not copyrighted. And I don't even know at this point how to tell YouTube that I've got copyright permission.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
It's so mind-boggling to me.
It doesn't matter because the copyright violation thing is automated anyway.
Yeah.
So you can in your description, you can wind up saying music licensed from, and they'll still shut you down because it's not a human decision. It's an algorithm.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
another.
And there's no one to call when you need help. We've seen, I kid you not, over 10 access stations, Daniel, in the same position you were in, have to just sit tight. And you cannot call anybody. You cannot get support. You cannot explain your circumstances to anyone. It is literally risky to put something on YouTube or on Vimeo or any of these third-party app platforms because it's a computer algorithm that's designed to pick up marching bands, background music. If your Battle of the Bands is playing a song, it's really good technology and it will ban your account. So it's definitely
they're changing it.
Monitored.
They're changing it now so that they don't shut you down. The monetization, the money from that commercial video just goes to the copyright holder. That's the emerging model. So instead of 3 strikes and you're shut down, it's you can't get access to the money from your video from the music that you use. But that's another example.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead and finish.
That's another example of when an access center's video of their YouTube channel is archived onto the community media archive. When they get shut down and they lose that access to their YouTube, we've got all their metadata, we've got their closed captioning, we've got their video, and so you don't have access to the distribution of YouTube, but you can point people to the community media archive, and we have basically all your information saved. And that's happened with.
What I'd like to do now is talk to some of the other people that are on the meeting here and maybe find out a little about what they're doing. And because I can see you, Karen, I'm going to ask you, how in Watertown are you getting that stuff out? You're muted.
We just have video on demand, and we live stream what's currently airing on cable. We were some other things that we've done is that we'll, air a program live on YouTube, for a nonprofit. I just sent a link to Daniel about the AAUW program we did, and talking about fair maps. So for a nonprofit, we helped them out. And we also aired it on our channel, like simulcast. But, and then the other thing, we're just streaming on, we had been doing sports, but just streaming on high school sports, streaming on YouTube and some Facebook Live stuff.
And how are you getting the signal, for example, for the live sports to YouTube?
We're just tied into their internet. So
okay. So you're using a box or something to?
It's just their I'm sorry, we have Sling Studio.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
In my particular case, I use LiveU. This is my LU200 bonded cellular with a couple of modems here on top, and I use that, but I only use this to send my signal back to my master control, and then my switcher puts it up on the air, and then the other two encoders that I talked about earlier, that's what sends them out to the different providers. So
does everyone understand bonded cellular? That's pretty cool.
Yes.
What Ross just showed. He can use cell phones to get that signal out from the field, so he doesn't have to rely on Wi-Fi internet. It is more expensive, obviously. There's a lot more technology, and Ross has to also pay for subscriptions to those cell services. So there are a lot of technical issues and cost issues to think about when you're trying to make those decisions.
It's rock solid, and and as Randy just pointed out, I don't have to worry about using somebody else's Wi-Fi. And if you can't afford even a hotspot of your own, then
used a hotspot.
Yeah, but sometimes that can be problematic depending on which service you're using. The great thing about a system like this is that one of the modems is on Verizon, and another one is on T-Mobile, and another one is on AT&T. That's 4 altogether. Sprint and T-Mobile together now, but so it searches for the best signal. So, and that has been a real help. Daniel.
Yeah, if this switches the conversation a little bit, then we maybe have time a little later, but I'm really trying to grasp what 5G is going to do for live streaming. The bonding problem that you're describing, is so real. And if anybody's got at least an inkling of an idea, because I might be visualizing it very differently than what reality is going to bear down on me.
I mean, there's some really interesting issues around 5G, and some of them are technical, Daniel. So I think in answer to your question, technically 5G will give us better coverage and abilities to connect. The policy issues has more to do with, will these 5G networks actually pay franchise fees and pay for the use of our communities, and who controls those devices? These are really important, very important issues for our community to get a handle on, and the technology will continue to provide new platforms for us to connect. I think that's a given. We have to decide within our communities how we will manage those platforms and make sure there's equal access for everybody.
You know, what you just said and the previous discussions, I'm constructing in the back of my head public service programming content around the importance of all of this stuff, so that our communities, as you were saying, but you know, I'm thinking of it now, my activist communities on either side of the divide that we have here, because I've done both sides. But getting a handle on this, getting a sense of what the public policy issues are and how they're playing out, and we're finding, I'm seeing a tremendous linkage,
Yes.
public policy linkage between my activist networks,
yes,
and our public TV media stations. That's
totally
not
agree.
even part of the dialogue right now.
If
I
we had
think
been
people would
more
be dying
active,
to hear about this stuff. I'm sorry,
I
go ahead.
totally agree. If we had been more active in network neutrality and educating people about the impact of net neutrality issues as a public policy discussion, I think we would have had a more informed decision at the federal level. But these kinds of issues with technology and access to technology are critical. And I see our access centers playing a major role in helping our elected officials and community members at large understand these issues. I would encourage all of you to think about workshops around these issue of 5G within your community. Start talking about it, get people together, see what the issues are.
Yeah, 5G may be on the menu this afternoon at our last closing session. Jonathan Kramer is going to be here, and if you guys want to talk about 5G, he will talk about 5G. There's a number of tech issues we could go and talk about, and so he's going to be polling people to find out what they most want to hear about.
Okay, we've just got about a minute left or so, according to my clock. Is there anyone else who would like to tell us about what they're doing? I'm going to pick on Ryan now. Come on, Ryan, tell us what you're doing.
Well, actually, Ross, I am looking for a replacement for myself, so that's what I'm looking for.
Oh, sorry then.
But no, so if anyone is interested in living in the woods in northwestern Wisconsin, it's beautiful. But yeah.
Okay, well, sorry about that.
Just my little plug.
Okay, there you go. There's a job opening, folks. Any other thoughts about what we've talked about today? Okay.
Ross, I want to just say, I'm so new to all this, but I'm feeling welcomed, and I'm feeling like I found a new, not necessarily a cabin in the woods, but another go-to place that I'm excited about it, and so thank you very much.
Welcome to the community.
Yeah, right back at you, Dan. It's very exciting to have somebody who's doing the kind of community activism that you are, and to partner with you. I'm very excited about it myself.
Good.
Very encouraging, Dan.
Thank you.
Okay, before Debbie or Boyce steps in, I want to thank Randy and I want to thank Dan for their insight. I want to thank all of you for watching and contributing to all this. And of course, in the future, I'm sure these sessions are going to be available. So you can watch them again and laugh at us and whatever. I know this is true because I'm recording it. So again, thank you all very much for participating.